Hi, my name is Tamkin. I've been in Australia for about 17 years. I came here from a very young age and I've resided in Perth ever since. That's a very big question. So some of the big issues in the world that I think that we need to focus on. One big one for me has been belonging, because everyone, no matter where you come from, who you are, what you are, you just want to belong and you want to connect with others. Freedom to me means being educated on what my freedoms are in the society. Oftentimes we grow up in a society where we do not know our rights as individuals and how we sit within society. But I think freedom for me is really around educating people and making sure that they know their rights as individuals in society and how that they can create a change. Diversity to me, if you asked me 5 years ago, it meant that people of color were part of the table or were included in discussions. And I have realized that diversity is more than someone being of different skin color and sitting on a board, for example. It's more than just making certain people feel welcome in our community and diversifying our communities and talking about multiculturalism, where we need to have people feel included, right? But diversity oftentimes has turned into numbers rather than including people. Diversity to me is more of a model. It's not really an action. But inclusion for me is the action that comes from diversity and that idea. Inclusion for me is how a board might actually better include a person of color in other spaces other than spaces that include just their communities. You need people from all walks of life, and from that model of diversity and people trying to be more inclusive, to work together to actually make this work and to make it an amazing diversity and inclusion, hotpot rather than a multicultural nation that we often talk about. I think a way that we can overcome our differences with one another is through sharing stories. I think that's a really simple and easy way to be quite effective in the long run, because sharing a story is quite personal, but at the same time it makes you connect with one another. It makes you realize things in the other person that you would not know of. If you talk about something like, we talk about Islamophobia, that's quite prominent, and me as a young Muslim woman, I see it quite a lot, and I see it behind the scenes because I'm not a visible Muslim woman. I still see the impacts of it within my community, and of course it still affects me. But at the same time, if someone actually came to me and spoke to me about Islam and who didn't really know much about it, I would tell them stories, I'll talk to them, and a lot of times that I've done this, they have actually talked to me and been like, wow, you've made me think differently about it, and you know what, you guys are not that bad people. And although it's not the response you want, but it's still, you know you're making a change just by sharing a bit of a story and making them understand why you do things and why things are a certain way. Because at the end of the day, we're all human, and stories are a great way to really connect. So I come from Afghanistan, and that's where I was born. In Farsi, which is a language that a lot of Afghans do speak, we have a saying, and it's a saying that from a young age I had always heard, and it was all around how change is made. And although this was through habits and bad habits that my siblings had growing up, it's still something that is quite often used, and it's quite beautiful in Farsi. And it goes, Qatra qatra darya mesha, which means drop by drop a river forms. And I think for me that has been something around how you can affect change by just taking small actions. And for me that river adds to a larger change and how we can better our society.